Hello friends, in this session we will discuss the market risk. We have already discussed the market risk theoretical part, right? So in this we will complete the MCQs which include your case study, also the problems. So see, very first MCQ for you. The sensitivity to the interest rate is measured by. That means how the interest rates are sensitive, how it is measured, that is a sensitivity to the interest rate. Okay, so first option is a delta, second is the modified duration, third is a volatility, and fourth is the VAR. So friends, sensitivity to interest rate, it is measured by the modified duration. So correct option here is the B. Okay, so see how the modified duration is how we generally calculate. It is the duration divided by 1 plus R, where R is nothing but the yield. R is the yield rate, right? Or we can write here it is a duration divided by 1 plus YTM upon N. Okay, so in this both the formula we can use for calculation of a modified duration. That's why here is the rate of interest of the yield is in relation with the modified duration. Okay, so sensitivity to the interest rate is measured by the modified duration. Okay, now next question number 2. Why is stress testing important? Why stress testing is important? First, see, because other measures of risk are complicated, because VAR can be replaced by stress testing. So friends, see, VAR cannot be replaced by stress testing. Okay, so it is a wrong statement, because to make more accuracy, to have a more accurate, we add testing, there is a stress testing, so that we will get a more accurate results. Okay, so stress testing is not replaced. Stress testing is a supplementary, it is a supplementary to the VAR. Next, stress testing is a simple to implement? No, because stress testing helps analyze exposure to the extreme moves in the economy. Why stress testing is important? Because stress testing helps to analyze the exposure to the extreme moves in the economy. That means maximum stress we can offer, it is given by the stress testing. And what is the stress? About the risk exposure, Okay, so why it is important? Because it analyzes exposure to the extreme moves in the economy. That means even in an abnormal situation, it analyzes the risk. Okay, and a VAR is only used in normal situations. Okay, so D will be your correct option. And okay, now question number 3. What kind of risk should be attributed to an asset that cannot be sold in the market? The assets which cannot be sold in the market. See, very first, what they are asking, what risk should be attributed to the asset that cannot be sold in the market? The assets which cannot be sold in the market are: first, counterparty risk, operational risk, asset liquidation risk, or a market risk. So friends, correct answer is the asset liquidation risk. That means the assets which you cannot able to liquidify. That means you are not able to sell. Liquidation means what? You are not able to make it liquidation of it. That means you are not able to sell it. That is basically a asset liquidation risk. Okay, so C will be your correct option. Now question number 4. A bond has a BPV of 400, right? And a bond B have a BPV of bond A have 300 BPV, bond B have here is a 400 BPV and here is a 300 BPV. Bank owns 1 unit of a bond A and 2 unit of a bond 2. What is the total profit or loss if the interest rate goes up by 3 basis point? Okay, so how to solve that? We are having 1 unit of this. Okay, so very first, remember what you have to remember. See, very first, whether it will be a profit or a loss. See, interest rate goes up by 3 basis point. Remember what we have discussed in the theory. See, as basis point value increases, your risk will be increases, right? So here they are saying the by increasing by 3 basis point, that means basis point increases, your risk will be increases, right? So we can say you will be having a loss, here you will be having a loss, that's why here is a minus sign. Okay, and 1 unit of 400, 2 unit of 300, add them and by 3 basis point, so just multiply by 3. Okay, so here you will get 400 plus 600, you will get 1000, multiply by 3, 3000 will be your loss. Okay, so loss of 3000 will be your answer. Okay, now next question number 5, which of the following are a risk mitigation method? Here we have to identify the risk mitigation method. Mitigation means you have to mitigate, you have to eliminate that risk. Here multiple option you have to choose. Okay, so first, hedging instruments, diversification, replacing sensitivity report by VAR report. So replacement is not the mitigation. Risk reporting is not mitigation. Mitigation and reporting are different things. So both A and B will be correct option. Okay, so both 1 and 2, that is here you have to select a multiple, so you will select both 1 A and B. Okay, now question number 6, one of the risk measurement in the measuring risk based on volatility. Okay, one of the risk measurement, basically it is a volatility. The drawback of this method is including, what is the drawback of basically a volatility? They are asking a drawback of a volatility. What is the drawback of volatility? First, profit earned in the previous period. Why? See, I have told in the theory itself, first is the correct option. See how in the theory I have told what? In volatility, risk is calculated by how? By considering profit of a previous period. So that's why we go for the downside potential. Okay, using the VAR, and in that the profit of a previous period is ignored, is only consider, it only consider the losses, it only consider, because it is downside potential, that is decreasing. Downside means what? Decrease, right? So it only consider the losses. Okay, so first, that is the drawback of volatility is for measurement of the risk is that it consider the profit earned in the previous period. Okay, now next question number 7, the government bond was issued at a par for rupees of 1000 on 1st January 2020 for 3 years with a coupon of 5%. The bond is presently, that is on 22nd of January, is available at a yield of 4.9%. Calculate the current price of the bond. So friends, we have already discussed such a type of a numerical in our theory part. Okay, so see, what is the current price? The current price is given by your coupon amount divided by your yield, percentage multiply by 100. Okay, so what is the coupon amount? Say here it is a 1000. Coupon amount is nothing but face value into coupon. Okay, so face value is 1000 and coupon is 5% divided by, what is the yield? Yield is 4.9%. Okay, so coupon amount you will get 50, here 5% of that you will get 50 divided by 4.9% multiply by 100. Okay, when you solve you will get here the answer. Okay, so you will, when you solve this you will get the answer. Okay, so simple, what you have to remember, the current price, it is nothing but coupon amount divided by yield into 100. It is a simple formula. Okay, now so when you solve that you will get answer 1020.4. okay, 1020.4. So here is also the explanation provided. The formula for arriving the current price is face value into a coupon, that is a coupon amount divided by current yield. Okay, so if you remove the percentage sign you don't need to multiply by 100. If you are removing percentage sign in the here, you have to multiply by 100. Okay, so here they have not taken percentage sign. Okay, that means 5 percentile divided by 100, and here is also percentage, that is 4.9%. That's why they have not put here. Okay, so here coupon in case here percentage, and here is in percentage you take. Okay, in this way you can remember. Okay, or you can directly remember coupon amount divided by yield percentage multiply by 100. Okay, this is also one easy formula, very simple, for 2 marks. Okay, now next question number 8. Government has issued a bond for 200 for 2 years with a coupon of 6%. The interest payable on this bond is yearly. Calculate the duration of this bond assuming that current interest rate is 6%. So friends, here is here the example is to find the duration. Okay, we have to find the duration. Remember, what is face value? Face value is 200. Coupon rate is 6%. So what is the coupon amount? First, 200 is 6%. That is 12 rupees will be your coupon amount. That means 12 rupees you will receive as a interest yearly. Okay, so first year you will receive 12 rupees, and second year the maturity is 2 years. So second year you will receive 12 rupees plus your face value 200. So 212 you will receive on second year, right? So for first year, find the present value. Okay, how present value is calculated? The coupon amount divided by 1 plus R. Okay, so 1 plus R is here. R they have given 6%. Okay, so see, so R is 6%. So here is a 0.06 and raised to power 1. Okay, raised to power 1 because it is for first year, and for second year it is 212 divided by 1 plus R is 0.06 raised to power 2. Okay, so when you solve, you will get here first part you will get 11.32. Okay, and for second year present value you will get 181.68. when you add, you will get a present value 200. What do you mean by that? If a face value is equal to your present value, what do you mean by that? First remember, when that means when what we have learned, what you have to learn here, when your coupon rate is equal to the interest rate, when your coupon rate is equal to the interest rate, at that time your present value will be your face value. Okay, got it? Now see, next what we have to do, we have to find the weighted average present value. Okay, so for a weighted average present value, what we have to do, 11.32, it is for first year, multiply by 1 plus 181.68 for second year, multiply by 2. Okay, so when you solve that, add this and this, you will get when you add, you will get 388.68. Okay, so how to find the duration? Duration can be found by your weightage, that is a 388.68 divided by the present value we have calculated is 200. So when you solve, you will get 1.94 as your answer. Okay, so see here again, here I have provided the explanation for you. You can see there is a 2 cash flow because it is for 2 year, and the first year you will receive 12 rupees, that is the interest, or you can say coupon amount. So 6% of what? Of 200. Okay, you will receive 12 rupees. Now for first year, what is the discounted cash flow? That is 12 divided by 1 plus R, that is a 1.06. Okay, you will get 11.32. For second year, you will receive coupon as well as the face value. So 212 you have to receive. Okay, so find the present value of that. You will get 188.68. Now, so total present value will be 200. That means when coupon rate is equal to interest rate, you will receive the same present value as a face value. Okay. Now, when we have to do the vetting of a cash flow, for first year, multiply this amount by 1. For second year, multiply by 2. When you add, you will get 388.68. To find the duration, just divide that 388.68 by your present value, you will get the duration. And remember, duration is always in the year. Okay, so here you have divided, you will get a duration that is in the years. Okay, it is very easy. It is for 3 marks. Okay, now next VAR measures. Next MCQ is VAR measure. What VAR measure? First, only potential losses, only potential gains, both potential losses and gain, actual losses. So friends, what you have to remember here, we have learned downside potential. That means ability to decrease, basically downside potential, your potential to be a down, that is a ability to decrease, right? So to measure the downside potential, we use the VAR. So definitely we have to measure the ability to decrease, ability to down, right? It is measured by the VAR. So VAR should be considering only the losses, because we have to consider the downside potential. Okay, so only the potential losses are considered by the VAR. Okay, it is important and easy question for 1 mark. Okay, now next question number 10. A dealer is working under a confidence level of 95%, has taken a position with a holding period of 50 days, right? And in this case, how many times the dealer's VAR limit can reasonably exceed with the holding period? For this working, assume the current year of a 250 working days. Answer the round of the highest integer. Okay, so basically, see, this is a very easy question, but you need a basic and good understanding here. Okay, so see, very first, what they have given a confidence level of 95%. Now that means you are 95%, you are confident. That means 5% of a chance that you will be having a loss, that is you will cross your daily VAR limit. That is a 5% chance. You are 95% confident, but that means there is 5% chance that you will cross your VAR limit. Okay, now see, that means out of 100 you are having chance of crossing a VAR 5%. Okay, so what they have said that the year is consist of 250 working days. So 100 is that means full, that is 100. So full year they have said of 250 working days. So here 250 out of 250 will be what? Okay, so when you solve, you will get a cross multiply and divide. You will get a 125 0 divided by 100. You will get a 12.5 as a x. That means out 12.5. Okay, so see here again, but what they have said, the holding position is for 50 days. Okay, that means for 12.5 is there for 250. Okay, here what we have calculated for 250 days, that is for 1 year, it is a 12.5 now, but they are asking a holding period is only for of 50 days. Okay, so for 50 days what will be the position? Okay, so here it come by dividing the 5, so it should be divided by 5. So you will get 12.5 divided by 5, you will get 2.5. Okay, and when you do the rounding off, you can say the 3 will be your answer. 3 will be your answer. Okay, here is the first option, second option, third option and fourth option. So the option answer will be 3. Okay, so I repeat here, see, they have given confidence level 95%. That means there is probability that 5% chance that you will cross the daily VAR limit. Okay, so out of 100 you will be crossing 5 times. Okay, so out of year they have given 250 days. So in a day, in a 250 days, what is the chance that you will cross? So you will get x by solving 12.5. 12.5 is that means in a 250 days, 12.5 day at 12.5 days you will be crossing the VAR. Okay, so that for a 250 it is a 12.5. so for a 50 days we have to calculate. Okay, so when you solve, it is just divided by 5, you will get 2.5 will be your answer. They are asking rounding off, so 3 will be your answer. Okay, fine. Now next question number 11. Assuming in a measuring risk, the black swan events are called as. So first see, what is a black swan event? I have already told you in the theory part. See, when a severity is high, and the chances of occurring that there is a frequency is low, that means it is creating the high impact, but occurring of it frequency is low. For example, COVID-19, or we can just say pandemic is not pandemics are very frequent. Pandemics are very frequent, right? But see, it create a very huge impact. It is severity is very high, seriousness is very high. So when severity is high but frequency of occurring that event is low, that event is called as black swan. That is called as black swan. Okay, and that is also called as force majeure. That's also called as the force majeure. It is also, we can also call it as a act of God. It is also referred as a act of God. Okay, so what is a black swan event? It is the event having the what we will say, high severity and low frequency. Okay, so 3 will be your correct option. Next, question number 12. VAR is defined as, first option. See, what is a VAR? VAR, how VAR is measured? VAR is it is a measure of a downside potential. That means maximum loss you have to measure. Okay, so there should be maximum loss. Okay, here is a maximum loss, here is a maximum loss. Okay, and VAR is measured under the normal conditions. Okay, it does not consider, it is not applicable in case of abnormal condition. That's why we do the testing. There is a back testing and a stress testing. Okay, see the link you have to remember, how the flow in the chapter, that you have to remember. See, VAR is what? VAR is the measure of a downside potential. Downside potential means ability to decrease. That is downside potential. That is your loss. Okay, so VAR is the measure that is used for measuring the downside potential. Okay, but VAR is only for the normal condition. It is not applicable for the abnormal condition. So to measure the maximum losses at the extreme, there is a abnormal condition, we do the testing. There is back testing and the stress testing. Okay, so what you have to mark here, VAR is a maximum potential loss in the normal condition. Okay, so first will be correct. Okay, second is wrong because VAR they have said in abnormal this is applicable. It is not applicable in the abnormal. It is not a minimum, it is a maximum loss. It is not average, it is a maximum loss. Okay, so first will be correct option. Now question number 13. If VAR analysis has to be reckoned as a good risk management tool, then it should be supported by. See, latest I have told you, if VAR, we know VAR is only applicable in the normal condition. Okay, it is not applicable for the abnormal condition. So to increase its productivity, it should be work in the abnormal situation. So for that, VAR should be supported by the testing. VAR should be supported by the testing. And what are the types of testing? That is a back testing plus stress testing. Okay, so what you will mark here, back testing and stress testing will be your answer. Okay, see how easy, if you know the concept and flow of the chapter, you will be very easy to mark the options. Okay, now question number 14. In stress testing exercise, in case one or more input variable are used with a specific boundaries, this exercise is called as. So friends, in stress testing, what we do, you take input as a one or two variables. Okay, and we will change that input and corresponding we will observe the output. Okay, so this is basically when you change the inputs and observe the output at a one or two, that means small level, that is called as the sensitivity analysis. That is the sensitivity analysis. Okay, so third option, that is a sensitivity analysis, is your correct option. It will be your choice. Okay, basically how your output is varying with changing the very small changes in the input. One or two input you are changing means small changes in the output, in the input, how your output is vary, that is basically a sensitivity. Okay, so it is a sensitivity analysis. Next, question number 15. The duration of a bond is 1.94 years. If current yield is 6%, we have to find the modified duration. So friends, it is very easy. We know modified duration, it is nothing but what? It is your duration divided by the 1 plus r, where r is the yield, So duration they have given 1.94 divided by 1 plus yield is 6%. 6% means 0.06. So when you solve, you will get 1.83 as your answer. Okay, see, very easy. For 1.5 marks generally they can ask. Okay, one liner MCQ, one liner problem. Okay, now question number 16. The modified duration MD of a bond with a face value of 100 is a 2.2 when yield was 7%. Subsequently the yield has been fallen to 5.8%, and find the present value of the bond. Okay, so friends, see how to solve these numericals. Okay, so see here, what is the change in the price? Very first, what is the price, what is change in the price? First we will find the change in the price. Change in the price, it is given by minus modified duration into yield change, Okay, so what is the modified duration they have given? Modified duration they have given 2.2. So minus 2.2 multiply by what is yield change? That is from 7% to 5.8%. So 7 minus 5.8. Okay, it has been fallen down from 7 to 5.8. Okay, so here yield change should be calculated like what? Your present minus previous. Okay, in this way you have to remember. Okay, so here you have to take 5.8 minus 2.2. Okay, so when you solve it, you will get minus, it is a modified duration is 2.2, and that is 5.8 minus 7. Here should be 7. Here should be 7. Okay, because it is changed from 7 to the 5.8. So it consider, you have to take a difference as a present to previous. Okay, so 5.8 minus 7, you will get minus 1.2. So when you solve, you just, that means you have to multiply. Basically you will get a minus will become a plus 2.64. Okay, this is your price change, but we have to find the present price. So present price, because this is the plus, this is the plus, so on the face value we are having 100, so price change is 2.64. you will get 102.64 will be your answer. This is the face value you have to add. Okay, and this is the price change, that is increase in the price. So face value plus increase the price, you will get the answer. Okay, see how easy it is, right? Here is also explanation provided here as per your demand. So here is the formula, it is a modified duration into the yield change, and when you solve, you will get the change in the price, add with the face value, you will get total present value, right? It is very easy. Okay, now question number 17. An investor holding a 10-year 9% semi-annual bond which is having BPV of 150. The yield on the bond from present level has come down by 10 BPV, that is a basis point. Okay, calculate the profit or the loss of investor due to the fall in the interest rate. So friends, basically whether the investor will have profit or loss, see how to find. See, we know the yield is inversely proportional to the bond prices. That I have already told in the theory lecture, that you have to remember. This is the inverse relationship between the yield and the bond prices. Okay, so here what they are saying, the yield on the bond from present level has come down by 10 basis point. Okay, that means yield is decreasing, so that's why the price of a bond will be increasing, right? So that means we can say there will be a profit. Okay, we come to know that there will be a profit. Okay, so we will have only two options of a profit and profit. Okay, we come to know there is a profit. Now how to solve that? See, we know it is a profit, but how we have to calculate, how can we calculate the profit? See, what is happening here, yield is decreased by 10 basis point. Okay, so there will be a profit because yield is decreasing, your bond price will increase, that's why it is a profit. Okay, so for 1 BPV they have given 150 rupees. See, for 1 BPV they have given 150, and they are said 10 BPV down, so for 10 BPV it will be 1500. Okay, so what is the profit? 1500 will be the profit. Okay, see how easy it is. If you know the basic concept, you can solve the numerical. Okay, so 10-year and 9% are useless information they have given. The important thing, how to tackle the numerical. If you have the idea, you will easily solve such type of numerical. Okay, here is also explanation given. If you want, you can go through it again. Okay, next question number 18. Extreme value theory is essential theory based on the probability distribution which is used to predict the behavior of tail events. Or so friends, remember, extreme value theory, it is used to predict the behavior of a tailed events. And tailed events are also called as the what? The for 18th, tailed events are also called as the black swans. 12 events are also called as the black swans. We have already discussed a black swan. That is nothing but the force majeure. Force majeure, that is nothing but the act of God. That is act of God. Tailed event, that means extreme event at the last. The tail means last point, right? So tailed event means extreme event at the last. For example, act of God, right? Unfortunate event. For example, pandemic is a tailed event, right? It is a force majeure, or you can say it is act of God. Okay, so in case of EVT, we use a tailed event. That remember the 4 names. Tailed events are also called as the black swan, also called as the force majeure. It is also called as the act of the God. Okay, now question number 19. As per the BIS guidelines on the back testing, banks have to use the most recent 12 months data covering approximately daily observations for the purpose of a back testing. So friends, as per the BIS, that is a Bank for International Settlement, we should use a daily 250 observations. Okay, as per the BIS guideline, recommended for the carrying out back testing with a 250 daily observation for carrying out the back testing. Okay, so here it is nothing to explain. You have to just remember the figure 250. Okay, it is guideline. Now question number 20. Approved market risk limit for factor sensitivities and value at risk are duly set by which authority? So it is a part of the how the market risk can be managed at an organizational level, or a structure for managing the risk. That is a market risk. So approved market risk limit for factor sensitivity, that is a to approve the risk limit for a factor sensitivity, it is the duty of a RPC, that is a risk policy committee. Okay, board of director are overall responsible. These are that is board of director is overall responsible for the risk management. Okay, now next question number 21. Who has overall responsibility? See, again the same question. Who has the overall responsibility for management of the risk? Okay, so remember, it is very easy and most expected question. This is the most expected question, most expected MCQ. And overall responsibility lies with the board of director. Okay, it is the highest authority. Okay, so overall responsibility lies with the BOD. Next, back testing is a process where first a model based VAR is compared with the actual performance of the portfolio. So first itself it is a correct option. Okay, so back testing, it is a definition of back testing. It is a model based VAR is compared with the actual performance of the portfolio. Okay, next, the risk materializes only when earning deviates adversely. Downside potential is, it captures only the losses, ignoring the profit potential. It integrates the sensitivity as well as the volatility with adverse effect of the uncertainty. So both are the correct. Downside potential capture only losses, ignoring the profit. It is correct because name itself is a downside potential. That means potential to down, potential to decrease, that is a loss potential. Okay, so first is the correct. And I have already told you in the theory that downside potential integrate your sensitivity plus volatility with adverse effect of the uncertainty. That means maximum losses can be given by the downside potential. Okay, so second is also correct. What you have to mark? Both of the above. Next, question number 24. Which of the following activities are not performed by ALCO? Okay, so that is a asset liability committee. First, calculating interest rate view. See, calculating interest rate, that means it is a part of managing asset liability. Maturity profile and mix of incremental asset and liability, yes. Setting up prudential limit, yes. Okay, so which of the following activity are not performed? All are performed. That's why none of the above will be your choice of option. Next, which of the following is not true? Okay, see, VAR in a control and monitoring. VAR in control and monitoring is used as, which is not true. First, MIS tool in a trading portfolio to set a risk limits, to take decision as to what business to do and what not to do. Yes, because it sets limits, also gives the risk. So what you will mark? Not true. All are true. So none of the above you have to mark. Okay. Next, question number 26. The duration of the duration or the modified duration is a Maclaurin duration discounted by one period yield to maturity. Find a wrong statement. So basically we have to find the wrong statement. Okay, see, the longer duration of a security, greater will be the sensitivity and to yield changes. Longer the duration of a security, greater will be the sensitivity. As duration of the bond is high, the sensitivity is high. Duration is directly proportional to the sensitivity. I have already told in the theory, right? Longer the duration of security, higher would be the risk. Duration is also directly proportional with the risk. Duration increases, your risk also increases. So it is also correct. Longer the duration of security, lower will be the price sensitivity. So it is wrong. If a duration is high, your sensitivity should be high. Okay, so it is a wrong statement. It should not be lower, it should be higher. Okay, so none of the above you have to, you have to mark that third option. Okay, that is the wrong statement. Here they have given lower, it should be higher. Okay, just a simple funda. See, what is funda here? What you have to remember? Simple funda. Here, duration increases, your sensitivity will increase, your risk also increase. Okay, this is a simple technique, simple tool. Okay, duration increases, sensitivity increases, and your risk also increases. Okay, next, question number 27. The price volatility is unaffected by, first, time, duration, yield, none of the above. So price volatility is unaffected by your yield. It is unaffected by your yield, because see, the price of volatility describes how quickly or wildly price can change. It is a degree of a variance in the price. This is unaffected by the yield, and substantially it is affected by the time and duration. Okay, so what you have to mark? It is unaffected by the yield. Okay, basically it is depend on your coupon rate. How much you will get, it depend on the coupon rate. Okay, if the time and if a time and duration is a fixed, see, basically you can easily guess the answer. See, time and duration is not the different part. Okay, duration and time, duration is in year. Okay, so we can say yield will be your, you have to option. And see, basically in case of zero coupon bonds, what we can say, our yield is depend on what? Yield is depend on coupon. And in case of zero coupon bond, the coupon interest is zero. And how zero coupon bond we buy? We generally buy the zero coupon bond at a discount. See, what is the zero coupon bond? I will explain. See, if the bond price is 100, at a zero coupon bond, we will not receive any interest. We will not receive the interest. That means we will get 100 rupees after say 2 years. So we will purchase it at discount. Say for 90 rupees we will purchase today, and after 2 years we will get 100. Okay, that is basically zero coupon bond. There is another part. So, but basically what you have to remember here, they come to the question, the price volatility is unaffected by the yield. Okay, next, the yield volatility is a degree of a variance in. So here in the previous I have told you, see, it is the degree of a variation in the price. What? See, the price volatility is the degree of variation in the price. So yield volatility will be degree of variation in what? In yield itself. Simple, right? See, what is a volatility? Volatility means how the things are volatile, how it changes frequently. Okay, that is a volatility. If you are considering the yield, how yield is changing frequently, that is a degree of a variance, how it is vary. Okay, so it is a volatility. Okay, so in case of a yield volatility, there is a variance, there is a changes in the yield. Simple. Okay, now next question number 29. Basis point value is the change in a value due to 1 basis point change in a market yield, and this is used as a measure of a risk. Which of the following is correct? We have to find the correct. See, about BPV, what I have told you about the BPV. I have told you in the theory lecture that BPV is directly proportional to the risk. BPV is directly proportional to the risk. That means if BPV is increases, your risk will be increases. Okay, so see, your BPV increases, risk increases, because there is a direct relationship between BPV and risk. Okay, so what you have to mark? Correct statement. Higher the BPV of the bond, higher will be the risk associated with the bond. Okay, so first option is the correct. Okay, next question number 30. The BPV changes with the remaining maturity. The bond has a 5 years to mature and present BPV is 5,000. Which of the following is not correct? The BPV will decline with time. On the day of maturity, it will be 0. BPV will be never be 0. Okay, so remember, which of the following is not correct? Okay, so BPV will decline with time, it is correct. One day on the day of maturity, it will be 0, it is also correct. BPV will never be 0, it is a wrong statement. None of the above. So which is wrong? BPV never be 0, it is a wrong statement. So see, BPV generally, see, your BPV changes with the maturity, remaining maturity, and if the BPV is decreasing, there will be a time, for example on a maturity, that BPV will be 0. So what I have to say, that your BPV, just remember, BPV can be 0 on the maturity. Okay, so what you have to mark? The incorrect statement, that BPV never be 0, it is a incorrect statement. Okay, here is also explanation given here, you can read this explanation if you want. Okay, now next question number 31 to 32 we have to solve using that is basically a case study type problem. See, the XYZ bank made an investment in the government bonds with the worth of a 5 CR. The maturity period of bond is 5 years, face value is 100, coupon is 8%. See, the bond has a market yield of 10% and a price of 92. Due to the changes in the interest rate, market yield changed to 9.9% and a market value to the 92.5. So calculate the BPV. We have to find the BPV. So basically these are the problem to find the BPV. So how to find the BPV? Okay, so see how to find BPV. Okay, so see here, what is the price change? Very first, see here, see what is the price change in the price. What is the price change? Price is changed from 92.5, right, from 92. So from 92, so what is the change? That is 0.5. price change is 0.5 rupees, that is a 0.50, that is a 50 paise, that is a 50 paise. Okay, what is the yield change? Yield change is a 10% to 9.9. okay, so what is the change? It is a 0.1%. see here it is 0.10%. what you have to take here, because see it is changes, they have given 9.90. okay, So from 10% it is changed to 9.90. Okay, so that means the change is 0.10%. Okay, so remember here the change in the price is 50 paise and yield is the 0.10, that is the yield change. Okay, now see, now what you have to do, for 50 paise there is a change of 0.10%, that means a 10 basis point, so 50 divided by 10, you will get a 5 paise for 1 bpv. Okay, see, I repeat, see what happening, the price is changed from 92.5, see 92 to 92.5 and 92. What is the price change? Price change is 50 paise. And what is the yield change? 10% to 9.9%. So yield change here is 0.10%. That is what? That is the 10 basis point. That is a 10 basis point. Okay, so for what is value for 1 basis point? For 1 basis point value will be 50 paise divided by 10 basis point, you will get a 5. Okay, you will get a 5 paise per basis point, 5 paise per basis point. Okay, so what you have to mark? 5 paise, that means 0.05 rupees. Okay, so 0.05 will be your answer. Okay, next, here is also explanation given. If you want, you can go through the explanation also. Okay, now next, the same question we have to discuss the data from same question we have to take, and we have to solve the question number 32. What will be the change in the value of investment for the total investment of 5 CR for BPV change in the yield? Okay, so what is the change? We have calculated the BPV. Okay, we have calculated BPV is 0.05. Okay, and for a 5 CR we have to calculate. Okay, so 5 CR, that means 5 having 10 raised to power 7 zeros, right? Multiply by 0.05 percentage. To remove percentage, divided by 100, you will get 25,000 will be your answer. Okay, very easy. It is just you have to multiply, just a multiplication. Okay, simple, right? Solution is also given. Okay, up to this we have already discussed in the previous question, right? So here we have to just multiply by the amount they have given 5 CR, you will get the answer. Okay, now next, question number 33 to 38 we have to solve using it is a case study. It is the case study. Okay, case study we will discuss here. Now see, it is important case study, very important case study. Okay, so this case study, very first we have to solve according to the Basel II guidelines. Okay, what in the case study they have given? First, see, Union Bank has a paid off capital of 1000, free reserve is 800, provision and contingency reserve 600, revaluation reserve 800, right? Perpetual non-cumulative preference share is 400 and subordinated debt is 800. Risk weighted asset for the, remember, risk weighted asset for credit and operational risk they have given 40,000 and market risk they have given 10,000. It is the RWA, that is the risk weighted assets. Based on the above we have to solve. Okay, so see, first question, this is the information given, right? So next, question number 33 we have to discuss. What is the amount of a tier 1 capital? So friends, as per the Basel II guideline, tier 1 capital can be calculated as, first it is add the capital plus free reserve plus perpetual non-cumulative preference share. Okay, so capital they have given 1000, 800 and 400. When you add, you will get it 2200 will be your answer. Okay, so what you have to remember, the formula for tier 1 as per the Basel II, that you have to mug up. Okay, it is a capital, free reserve and perpetual non-cumulative preference share. Okay, nothing to explain, because only if you know the formula you can directly solve. Okay, so capital they have already given, see, capital they have given, free reserve they have given, and perpetual non-cumulative preference share also they have given. When you add 3, you will get tier 1 capital. Okay, So tier 1 capital here is a 2200. Okay, first. Now question number 2 based on the same. What is the amount of a tier 2 capital? Here is a formula for tier 1 and here is a formula for tier 2. So as per the Basel 2 guideline, tier 2 capital is given by provision and contingency reserve maximum 1.25% of RWA plus revaluation at a 55 discount. That means 45% we have to calculate. Okay, revaluation reserve at a 55% discount plus subordinate debts. Okay, so what is the provision and contingency reserve of a 1.25% of RWA? So see, what is RWA value they have given? See here, they have given RWA, that is risk weighted asset for credit and operational together they have given 40,000 and market they have given 10,000. So total RWA will be 50,000. Okay, so 1.25% of a 50,000 we have to calculate. Okay, so when you calculate you will get the 625. Okay, you will get 625 first part. Okay, second, revaluation reserve at a 55% discount. Okay, they have given the value amount of a revaluation reserve as 800 CR in the question they have given. Okay, so we have to find at a 55% discount. 55% discount, that means we have to find the 45% value of that, right or wrong? Right. So we have to find the 45% value of 800, you will get a 360. Okay, 45% value find, you will get a 360. That is second part. Okay, and third we have to add, there is a subordinate debts, and they have directly given the subordinate debts at 800 in the question. Okay, so when you add, you will get tier 2 capital as a 1785 CR. Okay, that will be your answer. Okay, so first we learn how to find the tier 1 capital. Okay, this is the formula. How to find the tier 2 capital? This is the formula. Okay, you have to remember the formulas. Okay, now next question number 35. Calculate the amount of capital fund. That is we have to find the capital required. So total capital required is nothing but tier 1 capital plus tier 2 capital, right? So tier 1 capital is our 2200, we have just calculated, and for tier 2 also we have calculated. When you add, you will get 3985 as your answer. Okay, so total capital required will be 3985. Okay, so right, so very simple, right? How to find the tier 1 capital? They have given the formula. Tier 2 capital formula is given, put the value, tier 1, tier 2, and next what we have to find? The total capital. Total capital is nothing but adding a tier 1 and tier 2, you will get total capital. Simple. Now next question based on the same case study. What is the capital adequacy ratio of the bank? That is a CAR we have to find. Okay, how to find? See, the capital adequacy ratio is the measure of a bank's capital. It is a measure of a bank's capital. Okay, how to find that? Come to the point. The capital adequacy ratio is given by total capital fund divided by the total risk. And total capital fund, that is we have just calculated here in the above question, right? So total capital fund here we have calculated is tier 1 capital plus tier 2 capital, and we come to know that it is a 3985. So just divided by the total risk. What is the risk weightage they have given? For a credit and operational together they have given 40,000 in the question, and for market risk they have given 10,000 in the question itself. So total is a 50,000. So just divide by 50,000, you will get a 7.97 will be your CAR, that is capital adequacy ratio. So friends, see how the questions are interlinked, right? How the case study can be framed. See, in the first question, what they have to they have told us to find the tier 1 capital, right? And what they have told in the question number 2, find a tier 2 capital. In question number 3, they are asking total capital. Total is nothing but tier 1 plus tier 2. And in the next they are asking CAR, that is capital adequacy ratio. In that also we need the total capital fund. That means if your first question goes wrong, your 2, 3, 4 all the questions subsequently will go wrong. Okay, so remember, always remember, while solving the case study, you have to solve first question very carefully, very carefully. Okay, now see the next question based on the same. What is the amount of minimum capital to support the credit and the operational risk? So friends, see what they have given in the question. Come to the question again. We have to find the minimum capital required for the credit and operational. See, the RWA, that is a risk weighted asset of a credit and operational, together they have given 40,000 CR. Okay, so and how to find the minimum capital requirement? In India, as per the RBI, it is 9%. For what? For credit and operational risk. Okay, so just calculate 9% of 40,000. Okay, so you will get here 3600 will be your capital for credit and operational risk. Okay, so see the question number 37 here. What is the amount of a minimum capital for credit and operational? They have given risk weighted is at 40,000 and 9% value just we have to find. Okay, you will get a 3600 as your answer. How easy it is, right? But next, see another question. What is the amount of minimum tier 1 and tier 2 to support the credit and operational risk? Here we have to find the tier 1 and tier 2. Here we have find the what total we have calculated. Okay, but here they are asking bifurcation, that is for tier 1 is what and tier 2 is what. Okay, for tier 1, remember it is a minimum 6%. Total we know it is a 9%, but for a tier 1, for a operational and a credit risk, it is a 6%. So just to calculate 6% of the risk weighted asset, they have given 40,000. So just to calculate 6% of it, you will get tier 1 capital. So what is a tier 2 capital? Right. So tier 2 capital is total capital we know. So just subtract the tier 1 from that, you will get tier 2 also. Okay, and also you can do the shortcut here. For a credit and operational, what you can do for tier 1, just to find 6% of the risk weighted asset, and for tier 2 just to find 3% of risk weighted asset. Okay, this is the shortcut you can also apply in case of credit and operational risk. Okay, next, so up to 38 we have done. Now question number 39 and 40 we have to discuss. See, again there is some data they have given, same question is there, just figures has been changed. Okay, what figure changed I will highlight here. All the data up to this is same. In the previous question, all the data up to this is the same, just the risk weighted asset for a credit and operational, RWA for a credit and operational, they have given 32 instead of 40,000 in the previous question. Okay, so I will not going to read the question again, because just this figure is changed. Previously it was 40,000 and in this question it is a 32,000. Okay, now first question, what is the amount of a tier 1 capital fund to support the market risk? Here they are asking market risk. So it is very, very important to learn the market risk calculation. So how to calculate? First see, very fast. What is a tier 1 capital? We have already learned it is a capital plus a free reserve plus a perpetual non-cumulative preference share. Okay, it is like in the previous question we have already learned. So just add, they have given capital, that is paid up capital 1000, free reserve 800, and they have given 400 also. Okay, when you add you will get tier 1 total capital, that is tier 1 total capital. Okay, tier 1 total capital. So minimum tier 1 capital for credit and operational risk will be, what is it? We know for a credit and operational risk for a tier 1 is the 6%, tier 1 is the 6%, so it will be 1920. Okay, so what they are asking here, they are asking tier 1 market. Okay, so see here we are having total tier 1, from that we will subtract the tier 1 of what, credit plus operational, you will get tier 1 for the market. Okay, from total when you subtract the credit and operational, you will get the market. So total tier 1 here we just calculated. So tier 1 for credit and operational we have also calculated. So when you subtract this from that, you will get, that is from total when you subtract the credit and operational, you will get the for the market, because only 3 pillars are there, credit, operational and market. right? So when you this is total. From that total, when you subtract credit and operational, you will get automatically the market. Okay, so we have calculated total tier 1. Tier 1 total is this. Minimum tier 1 is for credit and operational is this. So from total you have to subtract, you will get a tier 1 capital, that is a tier 1 capital for the market risk. Okay, so that's why I have taken this example. This is very, very important for the market risk calculation. Okay, next question number 40. What is the amount of a tier 2 for market risk? We have to find the tier 2 for a market risk. So very first, what do we have to do? First find the total tier 2 capital. In case of market risk, what you have to do? First find total tier 2 capital. What is that? That is the provision of a contingency reserve, maximum 125% of risk weighted asset, plus revaluation asset at a 55% discount, that is at a 45% we have to calculate, and plus subordinate debts. Okay, so just to see, previously I have already explained that. I am repeating here just to put the value in the formulas. Okay, see, first provision and contingency at a 1.25% of RWA. So what is the total RWA? Total RWA they have given 32 for a credit plus operational 32,000 and 10,000 for the market risk. Okay, 32 plus 10,000 you will get 42,000. So 42,000 is 1.25% you have to calculate. You will get a 525. That is the first value. Okay, second value at a 55% discount. That means 45% you have to calculate. Okay, of what is revaluation reserve? They have given revaluation reserve as 800. So just to calculate 45% of 800. That is a 55% discount. That is a 45% calculate. You will get a 360. That is the second value. Okay, and third, subordinate debts they have directly given 800 in the question itself. So when you add that three values, that is the first value, second value and third value, you will get that is a 1685 as your total tier 2 capital. Okay, what we want? First we want market risk tier 2 capital. For that, first find total tier 2 capital. Okay, then what you have to do? You have to find the tier 2 for credit and operational risk. Tier 2 for credit and operational risk, we know for tier 1 for credit and operational it is a 6% is a mandatory. Okay, so remaining is a 3% for tier 2. So you can just directly calculate 3% of a tier 2, minimum tier 2 for credit and operational, just calculate 3%. Okay, so 32,000 the 3%, because 32,000 they have directly given for credit and operational, they have given risk weighted asset as a 32,000 combinedly. Just find 3% of it. How 3% came? See, I repeat, total for credit and operational as per the RBI it is a 9%, right? And out of that tier 1 is a 6%, so remaining will be tier 2 will be 3%. It is common sense. That's why here I have taken shortcut 3%. Okay, so once you calculate the minimum tier 2 at a 3%, you will get this, right? So what we have to do? We have total capital. Total is what? Your credit plus market plus operational. Okay, so credit and operational together we have calculated. It is a 960. Okay, these two is a 960, and total we have calculated here is a 1685. So when you subtract one that you will get a market. Okay, so it is very easy. The total tier 2 for market risk is nothing but total tier 2 subtract from that tier 2 for credit and operational. Okay, so you will get 725 CR as your answer. So friends, here we have completed the market risk. Okay, a very, very important case study we have discussed, very, very important MCQs we have discussed, and very, very important all the problems also we have discussed. And as per the demand, I have added here the shortcuts. That is your MC. What is the if you are doing the revision? If you are doing the revision in the MCQ PDF, you can directly have the look at the options and the answers. Okay, so that's why I have provided here the one very short answers here. See how you are scheduled for this is the question number, first line is, and second line is your answers. Okay, for example, question number 15 having fourth option, question number 40 having 725 as an answer, question number 23 both will be answer. Okay, in this way you have to read. So do one thing, you can subscribe my YouTube channel, that is a Bankers Zone. You can also join the group for a CIB discussion, right? The group name, the group is on Telegram application, Telegram, and you can search group on the Telegram by typing CIB space Bankers space Zone, or you can directly search on the Telegram @CAIIB BZ. Okay, and you can also download the Android application Bankers Zone CAIIB. So friends, happy learning, all the best, and don't forget to share this application and the courses available in the app in your colleagues in the banks. Okay, so friends, we'll continue our discussion in the next chapter.